guys, I'm back, and today we are going to do something very different. Today we are going to review a book. Yes, you hear me correctly. We are going to review a book, and this book is none other than the Demonata Lord Loss. The Demonata book series is written by Darren Shan. The books were published from 2005 until 2009. It's a series of 10 books in the kids category, or should I say young adult category, in my opinion. And well, how can I say this? They are bad. But before we start to speak about Lord Loss, I have something to say to the author himself. Do you see this, Darren Shan? In your website, you advertise yourself as Master of Horror. Let me tell you something. The moment when you advertise yourself as Master of Horror, you better live up to that name. I have seen a lot of horror films. Disturbing, the mainstream, all of this. So, you better be ready, because otherwise, I am going to be a dissatisfied customer. So, without any delays, let's begin.
We have 3 alternative covers. We will judge them because artists pour their works to intrigue the readers, which is something to respect. The first cover is decent. I like the color red as it fits the story's tone. The mysterious, ominous individual is staring at the reader, with his hand holding each other and his fingers pointing to his chin. It's intriguing and makes you interested in buying the book. The second cover is alright. We have a werewolf jumping towards the reader with chess pieces falling. They're relevant to the book. The werewolf is pretty good and the chess pieces are decent. It would make the boys want to buy it because boys love the supernatural. I like the first cover, however, if you want boys to read it, having a werewolf on the surface would make them want to buy it. The third cover is awful. It feels like it was made by an edgy 40-year-old listening to Linkin Park too many times. The colors and details are pretty bad. The demon is poorly drawn and ugly, not in a good way, mind you. I would never put it as a cover. My verdict for the covers are: cover 1 gets a 9 out of 10, cover 2 gets a 7 out of 10, cover 3 gets a 2 out of 10. The opening begins with a pompous poetry. Keep that in mind, that poem will become important later. Right now, it's pretty unnecessary. It's speaking about Lord Loss. What a great name for the main villain, am I right? Unfortunately, it is pretty generic and it doesn't scream terror. You think you're reading a satire. Unfortunately, it's not. Voldemort sounds more threatening than Lord Loss. The poem speaks about how Lord Loss is a powerful demon feeding on people's negativity. Fun fact, the author admitted it was one of the first things he wrote during the early or mid-90s. It was supposed to be in a book called Quiet Moments, published in January 1997. Quiet Moments is a collection of poems. The International Society of Poets owns the book. The poem collection exists to help amateur poets. Darren Shan sends his poem to the publishers. He never bought the book. Then one day, one of his fans bought the book and gave it to Darren Shan, much to his surprise. The publishers did not include Lord Loss' poem. The reason why? Because he didn't want to buy the book. Really, that's the reason. In my opinion, they saw his poem and thought it was not pretty good. I cannot say I blame them. It's pompous poetry written by an edgy teenager who listened to Metallica and watched ultra-violent anime like Legend of the Overfield, or in Japanese, Urotsuki Toji. And Violent Jack, the author, admitted that he was writing many poems when he was a teen. He forgot most of them except Lord Loss. He wanted to write a story about werewolves and he didn't know how. He recalled Lord Loss and it clicked. Suppose you're writing horror fiction. No matter your audience, you should never include poetry at the beginning. It will make your story look pretentious and not scary. In good horror stories, the less we know about the monster, the better. Yeah, if I was his beta tester, I would have told him to take it out. Now we actually begin the main story of the book. Excellent title for your first chapter, by the way, author. Ratguts. More on that later. The first chapter begins with the main character speaking like an idiot. Yes, not all kids are smart and intelligent. However, it should not be the introduction. The main character is a terrified kid. Yes, he is worried and afraid. That is natural when a parent comes to the head's office. It's usually not good news. By the way, he says,
"Either somebody close to you has been seriously injured or died, or you are in trouble."
What kind of school is this? Are all the bullies murderers or Hannibal Lecter? Also, how he describes his grand's funeral feels amateurish.
Her shining flesh, having to kiss her forehead, the pain, the tears.
Whoa there! What is this? A detective story? No, of course not. This is a young adult or kid story. The type of bad storytelling is part of the course. There are exceptions to good young adult stories or good kids' books.
I groan, roll my eyes and mutter under my breath, "Bring on the corpses."
It's Grabs would be Deku in horror young adult kids book setting. I can picture this. The author of the book has forgotten how kids even talk. First page and I already want to drop it, but no matter. I have to continue. Grab's mom came to school unexpected because Grabs was smoking. No, you hear me right. This is real. Not because he cheated on a test or vandalism. Yes, smoking is terrible and unhealthy. The author writes like he's on drugs. He exaggerated everything, and I know some of you will say, "But Sonicfan, that is how kids behave. It happens all the time." And I would say to you, not to this extent. We are on page 2. Again, the author shows us his incredible skills. The boy speaks like a detective in the 50s or the 60s. The books came out in 2005 until 2009. Yet I feel like I'm reading a discount R.L. Stine books. R.L. Stine can write believable kids and situations that make sense. Like The Haunted Mask, Piano Lessons Can Be Murder, and One Day at Horrorland. Plus, the covers are amazing, catchy, unique, and grabs your imagination. Darren Shan hasn't convinced me in the slightest. He was writing an adult detective horror book, but the publishers told him to make it kid-friendly. Sure, what kind of kid speaks like that?
She roars, and then she's off again. I am smoking myself into an early grave. La-di-la-di-la, bloody-la boring.
Arthur, are you okay? Did something stick to your throat when you wrote this? Anyways, his parents are naturally disappointed by cramps, so he tries to excuse himself. My friends are cool. I know it isn't good. However, my cool friends are doing it, so it's okay. His mother exaggerates, but his father acts like a better adult here. Grab's father is possibly the best character. He handles the situation maturely, and warns his son not to repeat it. Good stuff. We find out the reason why his mother came to his school. Gret, Grab's sister, snitched on him. Now he wants his revenge, and this is why the chapter is called Ratguts. The following pages are the perfect example of how to make an unlikable protagonist. Grabs finds 6 dead rats in the garbage. His sister screams and runs with a towel in one hand. Her hands are covered in red, and she's naked. The reader finds out Grabs put the 6 rats in his sister's towel. The boy sees it as a joke, and his parents are not pleased. They punished Grabs by staying inside his room for a month. He has nothing to entertain himself with, except chess. Remember chess, everyone? It will play an important role later. This scene is wrong on so many levels. Darren even said this on his website. The original idea was even worse.
I'd have to go back hundreds, thousands, maybe millions of years to locate the true origins of the madness, nightmares, and desolation. But for me, the terror starts with my sister screaming, "Grubs, you bastard!" Why was Gret so mad? Well, because he drew little vampire faces on her tampons. She then tried to stuff them into his mouth to pay him back. I thought it was an unexpected, novel way to kick things off, and it also served as a nice backwards nod to my vampire series. But my agent, quite rightly I admit, called for its immediate removal and replacement. Sometimes we writers have to be protected from our wilder ideas.
His agent told him to erase it, but he was completely fine with the 6 dead rats. That's not creepy or unsettling at all. Either of those things makes Grabs unlikable. The first book makes him weird because he knows about tampons and his sister is on her period. The dead rats makes him a potential serial killer, if you ask me. The rats contain diseases and can be extremely dangerous to anyone. The worst part is, Grabs doesn't see it that way, and he still thinks this is just a prank, bro. Darren Shan, you really make me wish for Grabs to die in the most despicable and gruesome way possible. Instead of seeing them playing chess, Grabs narrates about his parents' love for chess in the most unnatural way possible. Exchange some dialogue with each other. Is he speaking with someone? Let me guess. The readers. Darren Shan has a big problem as a writer. Not only in this book, but in the series in general. Instead of letting it come naturally, he uses exposition to explain everything. Grabs should be angry and not think about all of this. Suppose he wanted to add this exposition. Grabs should have talked to a friend of his. I would have preferred if we had a scene or two to flesh Grabs and his family. We would get an insight into them, just about using your brain and reading your opponent. Grabs' point of view would have improved. The readers would get to know the parents and Gret organically. Darren unfortunately chose the exposition route. And you know what is the worst part? He doesn't stay in his room for a month. His sister comes to his room with a present as an apology for the punishment. And she says this: our parents decided to leave the punishment off. Seriously? That was a bad idea. Yes, we will find out later why it happened. But as of this moment, this lessens the punishment's impact. The parents call one of their relatives. They bring Grabs to his aunt's place to remain there. They leave. Grabs finds it suspicious. He leaves the house at night, running towards his place. Don't ask why he's not tired after running, for God knows how long. Just roll with it. He reaches his house. Grabs goes inside and notices something peculiar. The chessboard has inhuman scratches. Oh no. Marinos, I told you not to play with the chessboard. Back to the story. Grabs heads over to his parents' room. Problem number 2 in Darren Shan's writing. He lacks the art of suspense and anticipation. Grubs opens the door and we see his parents killed by the demons. The entire room filled with blood. It is a tonal whiplash. Tonal whiplash is a term in creative writing when the situation from a normal position to the extreme happens quickly. There was no build-up aside from some scratches on a chessboard. The way Darren Shan did it was pretty amateurish and immature. To make my point stand, imagine you're relaxing or doing anything, and then all of a sudden this happens. The writer had a reason why he did it in that way.
It starts viciously. Chapter 2 is probably the most shocking thing I've ever written in a children's book. There were 2 reasons why I chose to place this scene so early and to make it so violent. First, I wanted to make it clear to readers from the beginning that we were in a world where the rules are different. There weren't many out-and-out villains in my vampire books. I tried to keep all of the characters as human as possible, and to explain their motives if they went off the rails and committed wicked acts. But the demons in these books are entirely without human emotions. They're monsters straight out of a nightmare. They don't play by our rules. They're cruel and destructive. I felt it was important to stress that at the start. But I also started in such fast, brutal style because I didn't want to upset my readers too much. It might sound strange, but I really do think a lot about what I put in my books, and I try not to throw in gratuitous violence which will revolt more sensitive readers. Normally, I'd have developed the relationships between Grubbs and his family, and given them several chapters together, like the way I sketched in the details of Darren's home life in Cirque du Freak. But I didn't want readers to get too attached to these characters, because I knew that would make it more upsetting when they had their unfortunate run-in with Lord Loss. So by not spending too much time on Grubbs' family, I hopefully lessened the blow of what happened to them.
That is the worst excuse you could have come up with, Darren. You didn't want to upset the readers? Horror is supposed to make you upset, terrified, and uncomfortable. Also, I love your comment about when the Demonata's selling point is the violence. You didn't want the readers to get attached to Grab's parents and Gred. But that is the whole motivation of his character. He wants to avenge Lord Loss and his minions by skipping Grab's interaction with his parents and getting to know them. The whole scene, as it stands right now, is hollow. It would have been powerful if we knew them. I felt you were bored and wanted to go straight to the point without the build-up. And when I read the scene instead of being afraid, I was laughing at it. I thought it was a satire of horror, but you intended it to be serious. Minus points, Darren. Another cliché in young adult and kids books appear. Parents are dead by the main villain. Clichés are not necessarily bad if done well. Darren didn't do a good job. The demons see Grabs and their dialogue is not very good. It felt like I'm reading or watching a Saturday morning cartoon from the 80s. For a horror story to work, I would have suggested Darren to have the demons speaking their language. Grabs doesn't understand it. He would have been afraid and run away. The following pages contain a chase scene that would make Tom and Jerry proud. Grabs managed to escape thanks to plot convenience. Grabs cries and every neighbor comes out. The police arrive and take Grabs with them. Darren does one good thing on this particular page, but this is one of the cases when first-person perspective is used correctly. Grabs cannot concentrate pretty well, so naturally the police do not believe Grabs' story. Great job, Darren, except for this part.
Fading. Bye-bye, officers. Hello, horror.
Author, you're writing a good scene, and you ended with that? You started the chapter promising, and you messed it up. They sent him to the psychiatrist. The part of the story is dragged out and could have been 3 or 4 pages. Doctors are asking the questions. One of them even said if he killed them, his parents. When I'm reading this book, I want to believe this is a satire of horror young adult or kids horror books. Happy Tree Friends is far better than the Demonata. It's honest and knows what it is. The doctors had a great idea. Bring Gramps' relatives. It is supposed to be a serious scene. Yet, for some reason, I couldn't stop laughing at how silly it is. Damn, just look at this page. Maybe this whole scene can be better if we have these actors. So come on guys, do your best.
Want off.
Laura shouts. I stop her and she hops to the ground.
Look what I saw.
She yells gleefully and rushes over to a bush at the side of the swings. I follow. She points to a dead bird's small young, its body ripped apart, probably by a cat.
Ooh.
Lisa gasps, coming up behind.
No, it's not.
Rosetta says, wandering over.
It's sad.
Can we take it home and bury it?
I don't know. It looks like it's been...
Demons killed my parents and sister, I interrupt calmly. The girls stare at me with round, wide eyes. One of them ripped my dad's head clean off. Blood was pouring out, like from a tap.
Grubbage, I don't think...
One of the demons had the body of a child, I continue, unable to stop. It had green skin and no eyes. Instead of hair, its head was covered with cockroaches.
That's enough! You're terrifying the girls. I won't.
The cockroaches were alive. They were eating the demon's flesh. If I'd looked closely enough, I'm sure I'd have seen its brains.
Oh well, let's go to the next scene. Finally, an important character arrives. Dervis is here at last. He is Gramps' uncle from his father's side, and he knows exactly what is going on. Dervis convinces Gramps to lie about the demons. Gramps does exactly that, and he is finally free. Dervis brings him to his place in Carcery Vale. It is a peaceful town. Dervis tours Gramps in his place. Gramps sees his relatives' portraits. Dervis reveals each member who dies gets their portrait. Most of the people who die are either kids or teens. Go figure. More on that later. Gramps learns that magic exists. We have a problem in this part when Dervis says that magicians and mages are different.
Are you... I have to wet my lips to continue. Are you a magician?
No, but I know many of the ways of magic. Bartholomew Garadex was a magician, among other things, but there hasn't been one in the family since. Real magicians are rare. You can't become one. You have to be born to it. Ordinary people like you and me can study magic and make it work to an extent, but true magicians have the natural power to change the shape of the world with a click of their fingers. It wouldn't do to have too many people with that kind of power walking around. Nature limits us to 1 or 2 per century.
In my opinion, if you can cast a spell, congratulations, you are a wizard, Harry. An apprentice, but still a wizard nonetheless. The book wants to tell the readers, you are not a real wizard unless you were born into it, which doesn't make any sense when you think about it. I've also noticed missing brackets in dialogues like this part that said,
She ranted and was eventually locked away in a mental asylum. She hanged herself there.
Anyways, Gramps meets with a supporting character, Bill E. The two of them bond with each other pretty well. Most of the book focuses on Gramps being comfortable in the new environment. It acts to relax the readers and prepare them for the next horror. If I was Darren's beta tester, I would have told him to advertise his books as dark fantasy. Billy is your polite supporting character who is weird and doesn't get along with the other kids. He's the paper boy of the town, trains alongside with Dervis and plays chess with him. He said Dervis is his father and lives with his grandparents on his mother's side. Grabs and Billy become best friends. We also get our first introduction to Mira as an eye candy for the boys to gush over. It reminds me of harem rom-com anime. Girls are mostly eye candies for the boys to go crazy. For the duration of the book, nothing exciting happens. It's filler for the most part. Suddenly, Darren remembered he had to write a plot. Gramps and Billy suspect that Dervis is a werewolf. It is fake tension. Suppose Gramps had a conversation with Dervis, none of this would have happened. So why didn't Dervis say anything about the werewolf curse? We have some horrible dialogues here and there. Darren doesn't know how kids or teenagers talk. He even came up with an original word, coolio. I am not making this up. Instead of saying cool, like every normal kid or teenager, Darren Shan's kids or teenagers say coolio. Darren Shan has a son and couldn't even bother talking to him. See how kids even speak? Or if he didn't have his child then, why couldn't he go to a school and host an event? Kids would be there and he would ask them questions. He would have gained material and a better understanding of how kids or teenagers spoke in the double O's. He didn't, and the result is a weird anachronism from the 80s or 90s dialogue to a 2000 setting. The full moon arrives, and Billy doesn't feel well. Grabs tries to tell Billy not to come with him, but Billy insists. They find Dervis and Mira together near Billsy's garden gate at his home. Then the book hits a big revelation. Get ready, everyone. The werewolf is Billy. Yeah, I know. What a twist. Mira is injured and Dervis manages to capture Billy. At long last, Dervis begins to speak about the werewolves and the curse on page 100. I am baffled it took him this long. Why didn't they discuss it after Grabs was comfortable enough? You had time to explain about the original owner of the mansion and mages, yet you didn't sit down and talk about the demons and the werewolf curse. Billy turns out to be Grabs' half-brother. Grabs' father had a one-night stand with a woman while away from their house. The reason why Grabs' family are obsessed with chess is that Lord Loss loves to play chess. Yes, you hear me right. Lord Loss loves chess. The people in the portrait died young because they become a werewolf. They have two options. Option number 1. Call the Lamps, an organization made to uncover the curse of werewolves using science. With the parents' permission, the labs can kill or take them as their experimental pigs. More of that in the later books. Option number 2. Play chess with Lord Loss, and he can lift the curse. Centuries ago, Bartholomew Garadex, Grab's ancestor, wanted to eliminate the scourge. He tried to use magic, but no results. He made a deal with the devil. Suppose they win in a game of chess. Lord Loss will lift the curse of the family member. However, if Lord Loss wins, he can do whatever he wants with the humans. Grab's sister was slowly becoming a werewolf, and his parents had to fight Lord Loss by playing chess. They lost and died. That is the whole reason why the family played chess. They have to fight Lord Loss generation after generation. I have a problem with all of this. 1. The devil loves to play chess is extremely cliché. Cliché is not necessarily bad as long as the writer has the skills. Darren Shan unfortunately didn't do a good job. Lord Loss has centuries of experience with chess. Any human being, no matter how intelligent they are, they will lose instantly by Lord Loss. No one could defeat him. Grabs and every member of his family should be dead. Problem number 2. Grab's parents knew about the demons and the curse. The moment they see Gret having the symptoms of lycanthropy, they didn't call Dervis because his mother thought they had a chance. Dervis was the better player. Like, if I was Grab's father, I would have called him on the phone, have a serious discussion with him, cooperate and plan a strategy. And problem number 3. Did Dervis want to spare the main character from all of this? Dervis, you do realize Grabs will never be a normal kid ever again. He saw demons for God's sake. They killed his whole family and you wanted to spare him? He has a half-brother who can turn into a werewolf and you didn't even bother to capture him. put him in a cage, and meet with Lord Loss. You could have told both Gramps and Billy about the werewolf curse, minus that you are his uncle, of course. Try them both together with chess and magic. The moment they see the full moon, they should have been in their cages. If one or both became werewolves, you would know where to stand. Instead, the middle of the story is incredibly dull. It offers absolutely nothing to the whole plot. Some of you will say, but Sonicfan, Darren did all of this because he needed to have stories. Kids are kids. It happens all the time. Let me tell you something. If you witness your family killed by the demons and your uncle believes you and knows about the demons, would you ask him everything? Like, why did they kill his parents? Who is Billy? Why did most of our ancestors died so young? And the list goes on and on and on. We do have another young adult trope. Adults are stupid. Dervis has a plan for Grabs. He will play chess and Grabs has to fight Lord Loss minions. Wow, what a great plan. Bring an untrained kid who knows nothing about magic to fight two demons with experience. Yep, this is a shonen manga already. Dervis brings his Lord of the Rings chess set. Darren, are you trying to say you have good taste? Nice try. Mentioning Lord of the Rings will not save you from me criticizing your books, by the way. Dervis explains even if they win, he has to stay and fight in the world of the Demonata as part of the agreement. His body would be in the human world as a zombie. In this page, we have possibly one of the worst lessons in the book. This page, it's abysmal. Dervis even has this to say.
I have seen you play. No offense, but you would have to fight. Lord Loss would crush you on the chessboards.
Grabs tells him the most rational thing.
But you'd stand a better chance against Vein and Artery than me. You are stronger and experienced. I know nothing about weapons or magic.
And he follows it up with the worst advice.
You don't have to. The magic knows you. That's what matters. You tapped into your potential when you faced the demons before. You tap into it again. Instinct.
It gets even better.
You don't have to know. It's magic. Your instincts have been sharpened by your previous encounter with the demons. Obey those instincts. Let Vein and Artery set the tone and pace of the battle. React. Don't think. Suspend the laws of reality completely.
Damn, Dervis, react. Don't think. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the moral of the story. Don't think. Just react and let the author save the day. It is a textbook example of a shonen anime and manga. When teens with zero experience fights experts with experience, they win with the power of friendship and make-believe. That applies to poorly written young adult books and movies as well. Darren, I know this is a kid's book. The moment when you add blood, gore, and sexy females for the boys to gas over, I will not consider this a kid's book. It's a young adult book with shonen tropes, adding topics such as demons, werewolves, curses, and gore that is reminiscent of ultra-violent 90s anime or slasher films from the 80s with the motto, believe in yourself, don't think. You have zero experience in magic, but don't think. Listen to your instincts, and everything will be coolio. Darren, this is terrible storytelling at its finest. Dervis calls upon Lord Loss. All of them enter into the universe of the Demonata. The demons arrive, and the match begins. Grabs is fighting the minions of Lord Loss. The fight scenes are gory and not in a good way. No matter how many injuries they get, you feel nothing. You know the main character will survive. Since he is the narrator, if he dies, the book ends. The minions have the advantage, and Dervis leaves the game to protect his nephew. Lord Loss is disappointed. Rightfully so, if you ask me. Let the demons kill Grabs already. Since Dervis left the game, Lord Loss is about to stop the game. However, Dervis convinces Lord Loss to allow Grabs to play a match with him, and he will stay to fight the demons. Lord Loss agrees. Grabs and Lord Loss are having a chess match. Grabs is losing. Of course he does. What did you expect? Lord Loss doesn't finish him off when he has that chance. Damn it. Another young adult cliché. Bad guys, if you have the chance to defeat or kill the main character, it would really help if you did it. Also, this part.
I stare at him wordlessly for a long, pregnant moment.
What the fuck? Grabs has a sudden flashback about his uncle's advice. How does he defeat Lord Loss, who has centuries of experience? Take a wild guess. He begins to mock him constantly. Grabs jokes around, and Lord Loss cannot concentrate. Why doesn't Lord Loss kill him right there? I would have been happy if he had done it. Instead, Grabs wins with the power of mocking. What a twist! I guess the power of friendship didn't need to come. So if I have to face a prodigy chess player, I will do what Grabs did to Lord Loss and win the championship. Lord Loss keeps his side of the deal and releases Billy from the curse as part of the deal. Dervis remains in the Demonata world to fight Lord Loss. Grabs and Billy return to the ordinary world. Grabs looks after Dervis' body for a whole year. Finally, the book ends with Dervis coming back from the Demonata world.
To conclude this video, the Demonata Lord Loss is a bad book. There are some pretty good ideas in this book, but they were not handled pretty well. The story is bad, the characters are unlikable. The middle part of the story should have been fixed. It dragged out and it offered nothing really interesting to the plot. The ending is unsatisfactory. So overall, the book gets 1 out of 5 stars and 2 out of 10. Thank you for watching this video. Make sure to like and subscribe. And I would like to thank Narny, Darren and Shan. Their tweets and YouTube accounts are down in the description below. So thank you guys for watching this video and have a good day.
I stare at him wordlessly for a long, pregnant time. I stare at him for a long, pregnant time.